Welcome. Thank you for being here today. I'm Chia with Chia Silver Lining, and I'm really excited to be here today to introduce you to Juliet Mitchell. I have been waiting for a long time to finally meet Juliet. I read about you, ironically, here in California, and several magazines, I think, had written up your story.
Oh, thank you.
So when I read it, I got really excited, and I had to find you because I think we've been kind of put together in this misadventure of cancer.
Yes, for sure.
And I know that you have a lot of things that you can teach us. And my mission at Chia Silver Lining is to educate.
Right.
I really feel like the more we educate ourselves, the more we get our head on the situation, which is very paralyzing.
Yes.
And I think we make better decisions.
Yes.
And
Yes.
more empowering.
Yes.
So that's why I'm so excited to have you. So tell us a little bit about your book. This is Cancer, We've Got This.
Yes.
And so I don't even know where to begin, but there's so much in here. So tell us a little bit first about your journey.
Sure.
And then you can tell us how this all came about.
Okay, so I was diagnosed with ovarian cancer back in 2013. And of course, anyone that gets a diagnosis like that, I was 44 and just like, like, what? Like, I thought the doctor was like picking the wrong person when he called me. Like, I was a fitness girl.
Right.
You
said you were a runner.
I was a runner. I didn't really drink alcohol very much. I was just like, I wasn't knowing now, I didn't eat really that great, but I didn't eat horribly either at the same time. Mm-hmm. So, anyway, when you get such a, horrible diagnosis like that, your whole world just goes into a complete spin, and mine did.
And you had a little girl.
I had a little girl,
and
5 years old.
To me, that kind of adds a little bit more to the whole panic as well.
Yeah, totally, because you're like, and anyone knows that has kids or grandkids, to think of the thought of you, not beating this, and what that's going to be left with your loved ones, or even the journey through it. How is your loved ones going to weather the storm as you try to fight this battle?
Yeah, it's very hard.
So anyway, I prior to the interview, we had already chatted. Yes. So she might be hearing this for a second time.
I got excited. I was like, oh my gosh, tell me everything. I'm like, wait, we got to do an interview too.
Yeah, totally. So I was telling her the night before my surgery, because when you have ovarian cancer, you have to have a hysterectomy. And so the night before my surgery, I took a run on the golf course, and I laid down on the golf course, and I looked up at the sky, and I do believe in God. Some of you might not believe in God, but for me, I do believe in a higher being, higher power, God. And I laid down on the golf course after the run, and I said, God, I just need to know if I'm going to live or die from this cancer. And I'm not getting up from here until you talk to me, or until I hear something. So it wasn't like the clouds parted or anything like that, but I laid there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and all of a sudden I got this really quiet voice inside that said, you are not going to die right here, right now from this cancer. That's not going to happen. And then I actually got up and went running. But the reason I tell you that part of the story is because I really believe that not only is it a physical fight, but it's an emotional and mental and spiritual fight too.
Yes.
So I think that at that moment, I had already kind of laid the groundwork for myself emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, that I knew that I was going to get through this. I knew that I was going to beat this. And I think that, I'm not saying that I didn't have doubts when I was deathly sick after having chemo and thinking, how can I don't know how, if I could take another treatment, that I didn't have those thoughts that go through our minds. Like, what if that was just my imagination, But then I would, refocus myself back to, no, I'm not going to go there, It's normal to have those thoughts, but I'm going to pull my mind back from those thoughts, and I'm going to focus on that, what God told me, that I'm going to get through this. And so
because there's a lot of anxiety.
Oh
of
my
course.
gosh,
Once
I'm
you
having
get cancer,
panic
I think,
attacks.
Yes, it's compounded.
Yes,
I think with the anxiety. So yes, we had talked about your mind and the strength of your mind.
Yeah.
As you go through this, so I think it's important to find education
Yeah.
and hope. I think those
Yeah.
are the two components that can help us survive.
Yeah.
As we go through this.
Yeah, and I think also not to beat yourself up if you're watching this video and you are in a bad state of mind and think, oh, I'm not going to make it because I'm such a worrywart, or I'm, I mean, I was worried. That's why I needed to go to seek, some spiritual guidance, or to get my mind and my emotions right, because I knew that it was off kilter. And so so as I was sharing with you, so the next day I had my surgery, and I was clear cell carcinoma.
And
ovarian.
that's the name, clear cell.
Clear cell. Usually
Carcinoma.
anything that's clear cell carcinoma in the cancer world
Okay.
is usually a death sentence. It's a super
Oh,
aggressive
my
form.
goodness, yes. Okay.
So my oncologist told me that if I would have come to him in 5 weeks later, he would have given me a death sentence.
Oh, my goodness.
So literally I was at stage 1 when I saw him, but if I would have come in 5 weeks. So I really knew at that moment that God had a deeper plan for my life, that this wasn't by just chance. He saw one other person in my situation in 30 years. So I felt like, I was getting a second chance at life. Mm-hmm. So I was just, I went into, as I was sharing with you, like an Aaron Brockovich mode. I wanted to know everything I could about the C word, and if I did play a part, what part did I play in all of this? Because I really wanted to beat this. I really wanted to, see my daughter get married.
Yes.
And
your curiosity peaked, though. I do see that you all of a sudden had this burning desire to know more.
yeah, because, it just didn't add up. I had no family history. I was, fairly healthy. I didn't have any diseases or autoimmune diseases prior to that, or nothing. I mean, I did develop autoimmune later, but I didn't have anything at the time, so I was just really complex,
And you talked about that a little bit. I think that's interesting, is that you said the statistic for genetic testing for cancer really affected is what, 5 to 10%, I think is what you
Yes,
said. And so it leaves us with a lot more questions then as we go through our lives, and you have to wonder then, what is out in the environment? What is going on?
Right.
And that's the journey you took
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, as like I was saying, I just wanted to know everything I could on the C word. So as I started to study and read every medical journal and every book, I just started to see a common theme throughout these books that chronically said certain things, and then I read it in this article, and then I read it in this book, and then I watched this video, or this movie, that really led me to some conclusions. And so I basically knew there was something that had to be going on in my environment. And then I found out I was living on a golf course. Now, don't everybody freak out who lives on a golf course at this moment.
But it's a great story.
But it's, yeah. I lived on a golf course, and I found out that there was, several women on my street at the same time having cancer that I did. And the guy next to me's pool was turning green because of the runoff from the chemicals. And we lived in an area of the golf course where we were getting sprayed double time, And when I called the golf course to find out basically, what chemicals they were using, the superintendent was out with cancer. So I was really this is crazy, because we're all not eating the same thing, but we're all in the same environment.
Yes.
and breathing it and ingesting it. So I knew at that point that it was for sure the golf course. And so I sold my home. And I later came across an article that said if you lived within 2,000 feet from a golf course, your increase of cancer goes up by 30%.
Wow.
So I didn't even live 2,000 feet. I lived right on it. But I also knew from my studies and learning everything that it wasn't just one thing. There wasn't like every person that was on the golf course got cancer, all the kids, all the adults. So I knew that there was some other stuff that I may have been doing. And I came across a common thread that that your liver plays a huge part because it's the filtering house of your body. And if the liver is strong, it can filter out toxins that don't get stored in the cell. And I was going through a divorce, which I had shared with you. So, like I was saying, like it's
the stress.
Anxiety.
It's
like it's maybe not one thing that causes cancer. I believe that it's the multitude of things. Like Suzanne Summers says, it's the tipping scale. On any given day, if there's too much of bad, then it tips you and it starts to mutate that cell. Well, for me, it was the stress of the divorce. It was living on the golf course, ingesting the chemicals. I wasn't sleeping good at night. So obviously my immune system was probably a little compromised and all that, but I was taking Tylenol PMs. I was taking like 4 a night, and I did this for a really long time, and I didn't know that Tylenol, seems like you're watching this video, well, how do you know? That's like common knowledge, but for some reason I just didn't know
you didn't
that
think it was going to affect you in this manner.
Well, I didn't know. I never really took a lot of Tylenol, so I just didn't know that, it's like says right there on the bottle, and I didn't read.
You're trying to relax, you're trying to find rest.
Right,
so
exactly.
It's understandable.
So my liver was hugely compromised. In fact, after my first chemo, they always check your blood because they want to see like where your white cell count is and all that. And my doctor said, you can't get your next treatment because your liver can't handle the chemo. And I was like, he goes, you really need to stop drinking.
Oh my gosh, you're like, it's the other call me.
I'm like,
goodness.
What is he talking about? Like, I don't even hardly drink. Like maybe one drink
like
a month.
Social nice.
Yeah, very.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm like, this guy's crazy. Like I don't.
Yes.
So then he gave me the clue to start to think, well, what is damaging my liver? Yeah. So then I came across a list of medicines that damage your liver, and I'm like, the first or second one is Tylenol, and I was like, oh. So instantly when I gave up those Tylenol PMs, my liver enzymes came back like super,
healthy.
So I do think, I didn't eat good. I wanted to also look at other parts of my life, like my beauty.
Everything you're putting on, you ingesting.
Yes, yeah. And I did, in my research, find that the Gershon theory or therapy was one of the most known holistic approaches to healing and curing cancer in the world. So I got their books. I got like 2 other books. I read, they have a bunch of videos even on Netflix. And I just studied, their therapy, which is basically being a vegan, and which my oncologist even told me, it's like if you go vegan, you cut your risk of reoccurrence by like 40%. So I was like, okay, done, no more.
Right.
Which might not be for everybody, but it was a choice.
And you did try it, though. You did actually.
Oh, I'm totally vegan.
You are completely
I've been
vegan. Okay.
vegan for 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is extreme discipline.
Yeah. Well, do you want to live or you want to die?
Right, absolutely. And that's a good question. I mean, I think that a lot of people, even that don't have cancer or just any debilitating illness,
right, diabetes,
need to address, I think, all of these.
Totally.
I mean, this doesn't even have to have cancer on it, I think.
Oh, yeah,
because
no,
I think that it really, could be very healing for many people.
Right. Well, so AKA I am Pure Girl in a Toxic World. That's my blog on Instagram. But a lot of people that follow me don't have cancer. I mean, I would say probably half my audience is cancer. A majority of them are women that have had, breast cancer and, who want to try to live a cleaner life, lost my train of thought.
Well, our region struggles with diabetes. because I come from a very Latin, border area, and so we do have a huge following too in diabetes, which goes right back down to nutrition. At the end of the day again. And so I feel like our battles are huge in our region.
But here's the wild thing. The Spanish Mexican has a lot of things in their diet that are really anti-cancer.
Oh, that's awesome to know.
So
tell me more.
So like, they have a lot of avocados,
Yes.
they have a lot of tomatoes, they have a lot of onions, they have a lot of garlic, they have a huge detoxer for the liver and the body, which is cilantro. Wow. And so, sometimes they're very, a lot of Mexicans or Spanish, they tend to be a bit more laid back. They have a more laid back personality. Not everybody, of course, but
you're right.
but it's a little bit more like, kind of go with the flow. They don't tend to be as like a lot of like Americans and some or Chinese and Orientals are like go, 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 go. So I do think like some of those things definitely affect it. But so I chose to take on the Gershon therapy. So that's what I do. I do juicing.
Yes.
And I do,
which you
yeah,
created
which
a
I
great
did.
cocktail for us.
Yeah, I just
I love
finished
it.
it. Carrot and apple and ginger, and I do 3 of those a day. And then I do a celery juice, and then I do a green Gershon anti-cancer juice, which is like a ton of these greens. And then we have a cleaning lady here. Like, she can't use any chemicals. She comes a little bleach.
Very important. You're right. You
yeah.
start looking for all the alternatives that can clean your life. Absolutely.
Yes, yeah. And so
and about your makeup, you touched a little bit on
makeup.
I
was going to go back to that.
Tell me a little bit about that.
So, at first I was just like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I'll just like never look beautiful after cancer ever again. Forget the Brazilian blowouts, forget all of this, no Botox, no fillers, no, oh my gosh. So I was just really very, because, when you go through cancer and you lose your hair, you already feel so, at least I should say I felt so like unbeautiful at the time, but I knew that I'm beautiful, but I just, the loss of a woman's hair is such a huge thing for her.
And you just don't feel good. I think it's important for us to take care of ourselves, even when we're not feeling good, because it does. I think there's a little healing. In that too.
Totally.
I do believe that.
Totally. Yeah, 100%. When I first put on those wigs, I was like, yes. I look good again, I feel good again. But so I just was like, I just started studying ingredients, reading labels, and then I came across a fabulous website called EWG.
EWG.
And it stands for Environmental Working Group. Now, ladies, this is like your golden key, okay, and men too, but so basically, they work for us, the consumers. They only work for donations. It's a group of scientists. They don't work for any big corporation.
Okay.
So they basically study ingredients in all of personal care products and household products and stuff like that. So hair products, makeup, nail polish, anything, all that stuff.
Yes.
So they rate them from 10 being extremely toxic and high cancer causing, and high autoimmune reaction, to 0, which is no cancer causing ingredients, no autoimmune reaction, they even go so far to hormones, which is really very important when you have a female cancer, such as breast or cervical or ovarian.
Exactly.
And so they have that in there too, so you can see if it's going to affect any type of hormone or there's a synthetic hormone in there. So that just became like literally my Bible. I would go to the grocery store, which is a health food store, Sprouts or Jimbo's. I don't know if any of you know those, but a health food store in your area. And I would pull out my app. They have an app, and I would be like, okay, what is this product?
That
you
is
know,
great information.
right? And this was back in the day, 10 years ago, when this wasn't like clean beauty wasn't a part of like the word it is now, clean beauty. Now it's much more accessible and easy to get products. My big thing is I try to keep things like under a 3. I'm not sometimes always able to find a healthy hairspray, but I'm always make sure to find that it has to be cancer free.
Okay. Yes.
So
Yes.
all the products that I buy, you know, and we talked about Beauty Counter. Beauty Counter, I love Beauty Counter.
I love their mission. I think they
Yeah.
do fight for the consumer to be able to have a cleaner product.
Yeah, and I would say 90% of their products are cancer free.
Yeah, and they really do. They
Yeah.
do educational classes, which is good.
Yes, yeah. So, and I go to, you know, I do dye my hair. So I call it the 90-10 rule.
Okay. I like that. Tell us about the 90-10.
So the 90-10 rule is that you want to live 90% of your life, whether it's what you eat, whether it's, you know, what you think, I guess even too, or what you put on your body, it to be clean.
Clean, correct.
And then you're going to have 10% of it being toxic. So,
But you've eliminated 90%.
right.
And that
so my 10%
is huge.
is my hair dye. I get my hair dye and a little Botox.
Okay. Oh, that's
But I have used my own fat for filler.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So those are great options.
Great options
Yes,
because
yes.
it's your own natural
Yes,
body fat
absolutely.
from your body. And, you know, so yeah, so I just have really, like, if you follow me on my blog, I'm like really big on like nail care, everything that's like cancer free and stuff like that.
I love it. That for me is so important. As soon as I came out of my cancer, when I could kind of breathe a little and see life again, that was huge for me.
Yeah.
So we brought that in. I said all the things that I wish I would have known or could have known or somebody would have taught me is what we try to put in to Chia Silver Lining. So our boutique, it's a wellness boutique.
Yeah.
Has one person that is just there to vet every product that we put in it. So every
great.
product has a mission, which I love
I
because
love
it's
that.
teaching everybody to make a better decision.
Yeah,
so when
yeah.
it makes it into the line, it's because of all these reasons.
Right.
And I was completely dry. I couldn't find products. Like nobody walked
Yes.
me through anything.
Yes.
And so I found that I was desperately seeking that
Yes.
information. So
Yeah.
our boutique really focuses on exactly what you're saying,
Yeah.
is being able to make more educated decisions. And for my daughters. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
yeah.
I know you have a daughter about my daughter's age
Yeah,
too.
15
and
now.
I am the broken record because it's so important for me to be able to eliminate those immediately from their toxic world.
I know.
said, as
Yeah,
you
yeah,
talked about.
totally. I have found it very hard with my daughter because she goes to her dad's, and then her dad buys her toxic makeup, and then I'm like, you really shouldn't be using that. I don't, you know, but it's like I can only do what I could do, right? When she's here, she uses good stuff. When she goes there, and she does not good, right? So we don't have complete control. But yeah, I'm big on that because after cancer, like my skin was gray, and then I wanted to find a self tanner. It was like,
Yes.
you know,
Oh my
the
gosh.
summertime.
The little things in life every
The little
day.
things,
Yes.
you know, and then I finally came across, you know, a self tanner that was like for breast cancer survivors, you know, and no cancer. I was like, oh my God, yay!
Yes.
So it was just really like very just. Yeah, you'll love that website. It's amazing, but it's the little things. Like once your nose becomes aware of certain smells,
You can-
like you wouldn't think of this. And these are the small things that that she and I were talking about prior to the interview. Is that, you know, here, you know, I don't have the answer to cancer. She doesn't have the answer to cancer. We just have some things that we know to do that can help us decrease our odds of reoccurrence. But there's something that can be in my environment
Right.
that can be causing cancer. And that you don't know it, and you're doing A, B, and C, and then you end up with reoccurrence, or you end up with cancer again. But it's not to beat yourself up. It's something that was out of your control that you didn't know.
Right.
And
we talked about the storm too. I think that's important to talk about, is that all those little things that come into our lives that create a perfect storm. It's not always in our control.
No.
And you're right about that. I think that was kind of, and we still have to make it our responsibility to do our due diligence.
Right.
But sometimes there are things just out of our control.
Like Olivia Newton-John, we were talking about how she had breast cancer like 30 some years ago, and then, and she has a holistic clinic in Australia and everything, and then she came out and said she had, reoccurrence, 30 years later, and basically said, I just need to go harder, into stuff that I know that I need to do. But, we still have to live our lives, and...
But speaking of lives, this turned your life completely upside down too, right?
Oh my gosh,
you
totally.
were an interior decorator prior to this,
yes,
right? So
yes.
You talk about how God kind of works in your world, and...
Yeah, so which brings us to back to the book. It's like all the knowledge that I consumed from my own journey, I felt like, oh my gosh, wouldn't it be great to just be able to give it to other people, everything that I've learned.
Yeah.
So I wrote a book. It was the #1 bestseller in holistic medicine on Amazon.
Wow.
Called Cancer We've Got This by Juliet Mitchell. And it's basically 50 do's and 50 don'ts. But there also is a section in the beginning where it talks about if you just are starting chemotherapy and radiation, because there's certain things at that time that we shouldn't be doing. We shouldn't be going into swimming pools. Right. I mean, like stuff like that. The small things that sometimes people don't think about, because sometimes people will die in the time period of getting their treatment because they expose themselves to swimming in a lake that's like still water and it has a ton of bacteria, and then they have a cut, and then their immune system's down, and they end up dying from a secondary issue, which they wouldn't have ever died for if they would have just been more conscious and aware of some things that they're supposed to do and not do. Like changing diapers. It's another big thing, grandparents, who, want to be around the little grandkids or the new babies. That's all fine, but you do not want to change diapers. You don't want to pick up dog poop at that time, because there's bacteria and your immune system down, so you don't want to catch anything that's going to and
people don't think about that.
You don't think about it
unless it's awareness brought
right
to light in these things, and so.
And little things too, such as going down to, I think when you start training yourself to think about what you're doing. I opened up a box a couple of years ago of some boots that I bought, and they smelled like hellacious. Have you ever bought like a brand new pair of shoes and had this smell?
That chemical, like leathery chemical.
Yes.
Like when you get in a car, my dad always used to make us air up our car on a hot day.
Yeah,
because all those chemicals are just boiling up, and you get into that car.
Yeah.
And you're smelling, you're just taking all that chemical right in. And it was like before people even started talking about this, he already had a sense of those little details.
Yes, because they put tons of formaldehyde all over the leathers and the plastics, and so that they don't crack. Like in the olden days, some people don't remember this, but the dashboards used to crack because they didn't have formaldehyde, and then they figured out we'll put formaldehyde on it, and formaldehyde is
so fascinating.
So I researched, and I'm like, why does these boots just are like, oh, I'm like almost want to throw up when I smelled it, and I researched it, and it was like, they come from China, and they're put on containers, and they're put on boats. And they don't want you to get it and open up and find a cockroach or a rat in there.
So they've killed everything.
So they spray it with tons of pesticides and tons of chemicals so that it doesn't get mildewed and it doesn't have any, bugs in it. So that's what that smell is, like a barrage of toxic cancer-causing chemicals.
Absolutely.
So one of the things I do is, if you, like you were saying about the car, I lay all of my clothes, my brand new clothes, shoes, purses, out on the sun deck. I let them bake for a couple days,
Yes.
and it kills off the chemicals.
All the chemicals. That's a great piece of advice. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
and
it's so
anything that
easy.
I can wash, I always wash.
Okay, get all the.
Yeah,
get
but
all
see, this is the thing, the little things, the little
and it doesn't
things.
cost anything.
No.
This is just, again, pure education.
But this is the sad thing in it all. You're doing A, B, and C, but you don't know about E and F.
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yeah, you're right. But we got to try.
Right.
We got to try.
we have
That's
to
why
totally
we have you, and you're
try.
doing all the work for us. Thank you.
So sweet.
But we have a little something for you.
Oh.
It's just a little something. So,
Okay.
Chia Silver Lining, we do little baskets for people to be able to give other people. And I found that maybe we may not know how to comfort someone, but hopefully we've curated baskets that could give someone kind of a comfort going through their cancer. So these are candles that have been curated for us, Soul Sparkle.
Wow.
With no chemicals. So I always say, why would you light a candle that has chemicals in your house for everybody just to have toxicity, right?
Yes.
So maybe just buy a candle with no chemicals.
Yes.
Especially if you're putting it in your children's room.
Yes.
But it also has messaging. So all the messaging is appropriate, which I found was hard when I was going through my cancer. And I don't know if you found that, but
Yes.
not everybody knew what to say or said the right thing.
Right.
And it was a little bit hard on me to keep my spirits up when people couldn't say the right thing. So I got a little nervous, so I
Right.
decided to create the right messaging and make
I
it easier
love
for
it.
others. So there's messaging.
Soul speaks. That's what we were talking about, finding that
Exactly.
connection to the soul.
It
Yeah.
is, uh-huh.
Wow, thank you so much.
That's a little gift from us. Oh, no, thank you. I'm the thankful one. I get to sit here with you. And one other little tiny, okay, so this is a bracelet that's very dear to me. It is made by one of our cancer patients.
Oh.
And it is made out of course, the porous stone, the pumice, which you can put your aromatherapy on it. So if you're going through a headache or a tummy ache, you can always select your aromas.
Nausea.
And
chemo,
nausea.
right.
So you add your aroma for whatever your ailment is. It absorbs. But she pays for her infusions through making these for our boutique.
Oh my
So for me,
gosh.
it has so much meaning in it too.
I am
So
definitely putting
you-
this
you
on
get
and
a
putting on my
bracelet.
blog and all of this.
I
like
love
she is a
it.
wealth of knowledge. She is Silver Lining. I just am just in awe of her.
But how wonderful would it be if people could also receive this in one of their baskets? So tell us, how can we get this if we
You
want to
can
read more about it?
Get it on Amazon. You can
awesome.
get it on Kindle. And I'm even proud to say that you can get it used now.
Oh my
I've
gosh.
noticed that.
Wow.
That people have used it, got what they needed, and are reselling it back.
That is a great idea.
So I saw that recently, and I was like, "Yeah, that's great."
That
somebody
is.
passing it on to somebody
Yes,
else.
That is a great idea. We
Yeah.
should actually do something. And I think I might try something in our hometown. We could do
Okay.
something like that and just share the message.
I would
but
love to.
what a great gift if somebody
love this.
got this as a gift. I mean, wouldn't that
Right.
be amazing? I would be
Totally.
like, thank you for helping me.
Totally.
So thank you so much
from
for having
survivors,
Yes.
again and again. Can I just add one more little
Yes,
thing
no, I
really
want
quick?
you to add anything
Okay.
you can.
Because I remember you did share with me to try to maybe touch on the base of like the friends and family thing too.
Yes, yes.
And I'm going to tell quick stories because I don't want this to be too
No,
long.
that's
But I had a lot of friends that abandoned me.
Very interesting, yes.
And then I had a lot of friends that just, the ones that I didn't know that were going to be really great friends, actually circled completely around me.
And came in and were support.
Right. And I was just devastated at the time when I lost some of my really close friends. I thought, how can you like not call me anymore? How can you just ignore my phone calls? Like I was devastated. Like shouldn't you be really nice to me right now?
No, because you're living their fears.
Right.
Yes.
I exactly had my best friend of so many years say to me, she was not into health or fitness or anything. And she was like, if you have cancer, what does that say about me?
Oh, you're like, thanks. That's
And
just what I wanted to hear.
And so through it all, after I got, not through it, but during it, as I started to process some of these people that wouldn't return my phone calls or abandoned me, or left, after feeling the hurt, I started to realize that it didn't have anything to do with me. It had to do with their fears of not being able to handle someone having cancer. So I think it's really important, if you're listening to this message, that this has, if unfortunately I've known women that their husbands left, or just like really horrible stuff.
Yes.
And it has nothing to do with you. It doesn't mean that you can't get through this. It has to do with their own ability, their weakness, their own fear of possibly looking at death or looking at disease that they can't deal with. And I think it's really important. It's not about you. And you find the women and you find the people that will support you, and you surround yourself with that. And then the one last quick story I'll tell you. So, you know, as my hair started to come out, and some of you that will watch this will have children and young children, and she was 5 and all into the princess mode, you know, everything princess, Disney princess, right? And so I remember as my hair started coming out, I was making dinner, and I said, go up, you know, or I was cleaning up dinner, and I said, go upstairs and brush your teeth. And so she ran upstairs, and then all of a sudden I'm in the kitchen, I'm like, oh, my hair was like in clumps,
oh my gosh,
and it was by the sink. And I thought, oh my gosh, she's gonna see my hair, you know, when she goes and brush her teeth, all there. And I wasn't yet prepared mentally to have that conversation with her yet, because I could still kind of hide it.
Right.
And I was like, oh, crap, if I could say that. What do I do? And so like I ran upstairs and I heard her brushing her teeth on her stool, you know, it was on the counter. And she was like, oh, mommy, mommy, mommy. Oh, mommy, poor mommy. Mommy, you lost your hair. You're not going to be beautiful anymore, Mom. You're not going to be like a princess. You're not going to be like a mermaid. She was going through this whole dialogue in her head. And I thought, oh my God, here it is. Here it is. This is it. By the way you react
is how they're going to
is how she's going to handle it. So she came out and she looked at me and she's like, Mommy, oh, you're losing your hair. And I said, come here, Katie, sit here. Sat down. I said, you know what? Mommy's losing her hair, but it's a good thing. She's like, what? And I was like, yeah, it's a really good thing. It shows me that the medicine for the bad boo-boo guy that's in Mommy's tummy is killing it.
It's working.
It's working.
And you get new hair.
Yeah, it's working.
Yes, yes.
So it's actually a positive that Mommy's losing her hair.
You're right.
And I said, Katie, sometimes in life, some of the most beautiful women don't have hair or have beautiful hair, like, you know, Mother Teresa or
Absolutely, yes.
And she said, well then, Mommy, you are the most beautifulest. And she jumped down and said, let's go play Barbies. So,
And then it was over.
And it was over.
It was over, yes.
So it's like the way that I reacted, you know, when you tell your kids or your grandkids, that spin, the true spin, not a fake spin, the true spin. Yeah, Mommy just feels sad about losing her hair, but it shows me that the medicine's working and I'm getting better.
No, that's all it is. It's all positive. My daughter was about the same age and she hated me. Like she hated me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never expected that reaction.
Right.
But then she completely shut me out of her life, like just completely.
Wow.
And I mean, time has healed.
Yeah.
Time has healed. And I have to say the blessing that has come out of this, and I think all parents could only like pray to God that they would get this.
Right.
But they're best friends. My 2 daughters are absolutely best friends. They have each other's back. I feel like they depend on each other a lot. And they are probably the strongest women I know in my life too. So out of this, I have seen them emerge.
Yeah.
Beautiful flowers of women with maturity and strength and love and compassion. I think my girls can compassion more than most people I know.
Right.
And I'm blessed that out of all this hard, I ended up getting the best deal with them.
The silver lining.
Yes, my silver lining. So you're right. It is. It is hard for us because we see the fear in everybody else, and that's so scary. Oh, I'm so glad you shared those stories with me. I appreciate this. I have chills. I feel like it's been such a blessing to see.
Well, thank you so much for doing what you're doing. It's so needed, and it's. I'm just in awe of you.
Well, I just feel like if we can just help anybody else that was ever in our situation, I feel like we've done something.
Yes, 100%.
And it's exciting. It's exciting, and then we're not alone out there. So we're all surviving together.
Yes.
And what strong women too. I'm blessed to be amongst these wonderful, strong women. So thank you for being an influencer in my life and in so many people's lives. And we're blessed to have your information. Please keep sharing with us. We would love to always learn from you. That's our journey.
Yes.
To learn. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you for
Juliet.
having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.